What up, you guys? Slim here at Team Purple Panda. Back with a new video, of course. Every like 5 minutes, you can't get enough of what I have to say. And like I said, you send me an idea, I'm gonna do it. This is gonna be entitled Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Building 101. Everyone remembers I got a couple videos that are 101s. This is gonna be on deck building in general. This is a video for anyone that's starting in the game, coming back to the game, or just wanting you to brush up on the common basics of this game. And this was sent to me by Ed9000. Go and check out his channel. He recently, I think, got back into the game and wants me to just discuss about how you go about building a deck. And that excuse me, that's the most basic thing that a player needs to know when they build a deck. So I'm gonna go through the steps of what exactly you need to do in order to do that. So we're gonna start with Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck building tip number 1. Decide on a theme or an idea. For example, if you're going to build an archetype deck like Gravekeepers, Gladiator Beasts, Six Samurai, Dragons, X Sabers, whatever. Pick that archetype and stick with it. When it comes to theme decks, usually you don't want to include other types of monsters with the exception of staple cards like Effect Veiler or Thunder King Ryo. That's some of these decks main, like Gladiator Beasts I know are starting to main or have been maining Thunder King Ryo in the main. But when it comes to archetypes like Gravekeeper, we stick to all Gravekeeper monsters and one random Gale if you decide to run it or not. It's cards like this that they're exception to the rule that you can splash in any deck, and that's the number 1 step: is start with a theme. Have an idea. Don't come into this blindly. Ed9000 was asking me, like decks like Hero Beat are all based around, elemental heroes and light monsters like Thunder King Ryo, elemental hero Neos, just different light attribute monsters, DD Warrior Lady. It all depends on how you build it. And, the same with other underrated decks. I think he mentioned Neospatians, which are basically, personal choice decks that you have to make. You have to make them work for you. You just pick the archetype. Another one is Crystal Beats. Pick the archetype, and then you can get into your spells and traps, and that's how you make a deck, basically. So, number 1 thing is pick your theme and stick with it. Tip number 2 is once you've decided on a theme and you've built it and you've stuck with it, you need to decide on your spell lineup. Now, it used to be back in this game, there used to be 5 of the most ridiculous cards that some are still around now that basically shaped the format, and you ran them. They were Darkhold, Monster Reborn, Change of Heart, Raigeki, and Pot of Greed. Nowadays, we are still allowed Monster Reborn and Darkhold, but a lot of the other ones have gone, and other cards have taken their spot. So when you decide to make a deck, you need to decide what spells am I going to run. Of course, your obvious staples should always be Darkhold and Monster Reborn, as they are needed. The one Book of Moon. Book of Moon is really important in most decks because it can defend you, like when you need it. It can, turn what's a really powerful monster's attack, turn them to face down defense, run them over. Really important. It's a staple these days. Other staple spells are, simple, the double MSTs for spell and trap removal if you need it. Depending on what kind of deck you run, Mind Control is becoming a staple. Pot of Duality is becoming a staple in a lot of decks, just for, its draw engine. Cards like that. You just decide once you have your theme, which is your monsters, you decide on your basic spell lineup as well as cards that support the archetype. So for me, this is a no-brainer. I run Gravekeepers, so I'm going to run 3 certain cards that only Gravekeepers run. Valley, Steel, and Tribute. Obviously, they're support cards. A lot of decks have that, like Hero Beat has Miracle Fusion. They have Super Poly, all these other cards that some other decks don't run, they run, and that's, how a theme deck, comes to be. And then once you've decided, on your spell lineup and you've taken your basic spells, the last thing left to do is decide on your the last thing of the main deck to do is decide on your traps. When it comes to traps these days, there's a couple that are just basically staples. I can only think, honestly, of 5 that I've seen in almost every deck out there right now, and they are Double Solemn Warning, because Warning is amazing. I don't even have to go into discussion on this. If you don't have Solemn Warning, it's okay. You can always substitute it with other cards that, they're not as good, but they do work at the same time, but they're slowly coming back. Bottomless is one of those cards if you don't run Warning. Uh, Other cards that have become staples: Solemn Judgment, become a staple. Torrential Tribute, become a staple. Has always been a staple. And Mirror Force is a staple. So it's cards like this that are included, or I've seen included in most decks these days. So once you've you've picked your basic traps, you still have room. Your deck is minimal 40. You can run protection cards like Dimensional Prison, like I've discussed in many videos before how good Dimensional Prison is. You can run protective traps like Seven Tools of the Bandit, very important. And depending on what kind of deck you run, you can always include Royal Oppression. I think is almost a staple these days in most decks, because granted, while you do special summon, if you can control the field and then spring Royal Oppression, you can usually win. So that's deck building 101. You just need to know, like I said, pick your theme, stick with your monsters, pick your spells, add support spells, and your traps, your basic traps, and add personal tech traps that you feel will best serve you in your game. With that done, you then decide, is my deck the type of deck that has tuners, or has a way to get a hold of a tuner, be it through mind control or something like that, in order to synchro? And then at that point you make your extra deck. And your extra deck, basically, you just pick your basic ones these days, which are Stardust and Black Rose, Colossal Fighter, Scrap Dragon. Some are main decking Ancient Fairy to get rid of Necro Valley. Your level 6s are becoming Gaia and Brionek. Hyper Librarians, your 5. If you're running Black Wings, or if you're running Gale in your main, you can make these bad boys. And then if you, it can be either in your side deck or your extra deck. When you side in Cyber Dragon, if you do, Chimera Fortress is really important. Helps switch the game over to your control. And so then you just have to decide, am I going to be using tuners or have access to tuners? I think every deck should always have an extra deck, because you never know when you have the chance in the game to make a synchro. And if you have it there, you most likely will summon it. And the very last thing I'm going to go over is just the side deck. I've done several videos on side decking. You then decide, now that you have your archetype, your deck is built, you have your extra deck, you then decide, what am I going to do for a side deck? You put in your staple side deck cards, which become Thunder King Ryos, Cyber Dragons, against Samurais, Puppet Plants, Kinetic Soldiers, Fossil Dynas, all of these cards that I've gone over before. You just make your side deck and you serve it to your playstyle. You don't have to go to go and watch people's videos on how to side deck. You make your side deck the way you feel it'll best serve you when you're playing your matches and what you think you'll play. And that's basically all you have to do, you guys. When it comes to deck building is very easy. You just have to follow these steps. I'll go over them once again. Number 1, pick your theme and stick to it, monster-wise. Number 2, pick your spells, your main staple spells, and your tech spells, if you want to call them, your support spells that support your archetype. And number 3, pick your basic traps, pick your support traps, your tech traps that you want to try out, pick those. Decide if your deck is going to synchro or not by including tuners or cards that can help you get a hold of a tuner. Always include an extra deck just in case. They could be in your side deck. And the very last thing is, for your side deck, have the right cards that you feel will best benefit you when you side deck in other matches and give you the advantage in order to win. That's all I have to say, you guys. Once again, thank you Ed9000 for this video idea. I actually enjoyed doing this because I like going over the logistics of this game, and I think this is a very beneficial video for anyone who's starting out or returning to the game, because most people who say they quit this game never really quit this game. So that's all I got to say, you guys. Enjoy the video. The Slimathon continues. I'm feeling good. I got a lot more videos coming through, at least 2 or 3 more, and the ideas keep coming. So thank you, guys. Please continue to rate, comment, subscribe. I'm trying to get my subs up to 300, just get my name across. I'm making a lot of videos, a lot of good content. You guys are watching it. I hope you're taking good stuff away from it. Nothing but positive vibes when I make these videos. So I hope everyone's enjoying it, everyone's having a good day. That's all I got to say. This has been Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Construction 101 with Slim, and thank you for watching.